In 1991, I got my first phone call from Jones. Then another, and another. Every week since, without fail, I've had these phone calls with Jones. Not sure what to expect or what the topic will be, or even why I pick up. All I know for sure is every week I get another phone call from Jones.
So I did finally catch up with the Las Vegas rancher issue that you were talking about over the weekend.
Wait a second. The what?
Las Vegas, the Nevada rancher. I'm sorry. I finally caught up on the Nevada rancher issue.
Oh,
Quite
yeah.
shocking.
Oh, it is shocking, is it? The Bundy Ranch?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? What do you think of the Bundy Ranch?
You know, obviously this whole thing was a ruse and it was just an attempt at a land grab. But, I mean, it seems so funny to me, though, that in 2014 a bunch of people just threw, like, guns in the back of their pickup and, like, drove down there and made a stand. That's the coolest thing about this whole story, is that people just went down there, didn't know this guy, and just went, we're making a stand. I'm surprised that there isn't more discussion about this whole thing. You know, really.
You mean like on the news, you mean?
Well, it could be on the news. It could be in an alternative media. But this is something that is interesting, like a really, for all this stuff that you talk about, you know, 1%ers and people running around in Guy Fawkes masks and protesting Wall Street, like this was the ultimate power to the people. And it would actually challenge a lot of the Guy Fawkes people because I know that they, you know, deep down, you know, they want to sit there and they say they hate Wall Street, they hate the government, but they want to take everybody else's guns away, but they don't mind that the government is armed. But so I couldn't see them getting on board with what they would probably just write off as a bunch of hillbillies defending a land grab with rifles. But at the same time, like, that was I can't think of another time where there was just citizens rallying around one person over principle and making the government back down, making government entity back down.
Well, yeah, and I wonder if
I mean, really, name another time. You know, I found that kind of interesting because and I don't know how many incidents really required that, but you know, when they were trying to take out a bunch of homes in Bensonville to build additional runways for O'Hare Airport, you know, I don't recall anybody. You know, people went to town halls and, you know, sat in their proper spot and folding chairs and maybe protested, but I didn't see anybody going down there, you know, with guns saying, just try to grab our land.
And has the media have they been covering this story? I haven't really seen.
Oh, well, I didn't know anything about it until you told me about it. Like, the Nevada Rancher thing. You see the thing about the Nevada Rancher? I was like, wait, what?
Okay. So, like, ABC News isn't really talking about this?
I haven't seen anything.
I
didn't see. You're the first person who told me. But right. And
so maybe that is prescient because I happen to believe the media and the government do walk in lockstep, and you know, maybe you would see more of this if people knew, you actually can stand up for yourselves, and maybe you should sometimes. And I mean, I'm not advocating for armed insurrections, but hey, I saw a report today about how the US Postal Service has joined NOAA, the weather organization that lets you know if the waves are too high on Lake Michigan. And the Department of Agriculture in purchasing like hundreds of thousands of hollow point bullets. And all told, exactly, that's why everyone wants to know. Now, a part of me thinks, well, this is the government's way of drying up supply. They haven't been successful in their gun control measures, but what they can do is they have through regulation been successful in closing a lot of companies that do make bullets and things like that, and now they're drying up the supply by just purchasing up as much as they can. And so Homeland Security and like the FBI, for example, they have like billions of rounds like more than like the Army has. And so when you have the Postal Service, but, of course, survivalist nation is out there going like, no, they're not trying to dry up the supply. They're trying to arm the government so they can kill you. It's like, I don't know if I want to go that far, but something's fishy, man. So in a world where the U.S. Postal Service has hundreds of thousands of, and not even just regular bullets, like the type that are only, they're not for the range. They're
right.
for killing. They are for killing.
Then why do you think they went out and got that then?
Well, again, I'm trying to lean towards somewhat of a rational middle ground and say they're trying to. It's gun control, but it's like a sneaky way of doing it. But it sucks because on tax day, when everyone's fixated on how much money we pay the government, it's just like it's ill-timed for that story to drop. Oh, cool, man! I'm busting my ass trying to pay my bills and pay your taxes. $2.8 trillion in taxes a year, and GE doesn't pay any corporate taxes and all of the corporate welfare that goes on in this country. Blah blah blah. And then you guys are taking my money and you're giving it to groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, and then you're buying bullets for the Postal Service. Awesome. That's great. That's just fabulous. I'll go back to work now. Thanks. So.
Yeah.
But, and then, so cool. There's people going out there and defending some dude's ranch in Nevada. The government already owns like 90% of the land out west of the Mississippi, right? And I love the whole charade that, well, we're doing it to protect the green open spaces. And this initiative was started by Teddy Roosevelt in the early part of the 20th century. This is to secure resources, which would be great if they're going to be guaranteed to be put to work for Americans. But I have every suspicion that those resources will be sold off to China and to the other countries that own our debt, sadly. So.
Well, I mean, you look at it, they're doing that land grab, and if Henry Reed and his son could get away with it, they were going to put up a solar farm in a deal with the Chinese. So now maybe we were going to reap from those resources. We were going to get that power, but it was going to be a Chinese company that was going to do the development.
Yeah, and the Iraqi oil is going to non-U.S. cars, but. Then the rationale goes, yeah, but American companies went in and got the contracts, like Halliburton, and Halliburton, all the Bush friends, and it's like, I got no reason to believe that Americans ever got anything out of that whole deal, but they sure did spill a lot of blood over it. Not that Iraqis didn't, a million Iraqis dead or something. So, I don't want to be the tinfoil hat wearing dude. I just want to know actually what's going on, and I can't depend on ABC News to tell me, unfortunately. So I'm going to other places, and then so do some googling around on the new laws that they're trying to enact to restrict quote unquote alternative media and to define through legislative acts and through a judicial process who constitutes a journalist, so that we'll get to a point in this country where only Matt Lauer can tell you what is fact. And the sad part is that they're so busy fawning over the royal baby and how enormous he is, that they're not talking about literally armed insurrection happening in America. Wow. Politicians have been trying to do this for ages. There used to be the fairness doctrine in radio, which was, under the guise of giving equal time, but it really, the end result was to have a chilling effect so that, broadcast, radio stations and broadcast entities wouldn't talk about politics at all, because in order to do that, they'd have to have the other side on, and that became laborious and costly even. So, and the fairness doctrine has been out of radio for a few years, but there's been talk about reviving it. And now concurrent with that talk is this push to define who is a journalist and who isn't.
So who now, in terms of what you know about it, who would make that decision?
Yeah, and I don't know who would be the regulatory body to determine that, but okay, so there are websites that just crush the viewing audience of a lot of MSNBC gets crushed by websites, but MSNBC is going to get credentialed and get the anointing as real journalists, and a lot of websites that are killing them in views and unique visitors are going to get left out. And moreover, it's not even like you just won't get credentials to that press conference. It'll be impossible for you to do what you are doing. And that's the real chilling effect. So Google around about it. Get back to me what you find.
Well, no, but I'm asking you, just because you were into it, whatever information you got, I'm not challenging you.
No, I'm asking you, go find out. I can't find out everything, Joe.
Well, no, but I'm asking as you researched this, or as you were hearing the story, maybe not that you researched it, but how would they go about stopping that? Stopping someone putting up a blog site? I mean, it's so pervasive.
Well,
how would they go about it?
Lots of things illegal, dude. Oh, so this week I'm working on behalf of a dating events company that does events for single people, totally above board, no porn, no ridiculousness, nothing. Just they take you to a baseball game, or they'll set up an event at a restaurant or whatever. And if you're married, you can't be part of the club, so it's a social club. And so Facebook this week is blocking ads, and maybe indefinitely blocking ads for this company. And it's like, okay, well, it's fine. It's your site, I guess, but it sucks because this company has spent a lot of money building up its Facebook pages and all of the things that I tell people not to do. They do it, but I didn't work for them then. And it's like, yeah, cool. Spend lots of money building up Facebook's business, because anytime they want, then after that, though, they can turn off the spigot and shut you down. And so the same way that Facebook can block you, Google can block you, internet service providers can block you. You could be silenced overnight if the right government agency comes in and says, yeah, you know what, your activities are unlawful, and so we're not only going to jail you or sue you, but we're going to sue the internet service provider that lets you do this. And then we're going to go after the hosting company. And then we're going to go after your Aunt Tilly's third cousin. And so everybody just goes, shh, I don't want anything to do with this, man. So if you're even remotely associated with anything like new media or alternative media or anything like that, you're going to get cock-blocked by a lot of different groups.
Now, is Facebook giving a reason why they're shutting down your ads, your company?
Yeah, they're saying we don't sell ads to dating sites. You have to be. It's like a catch-22. You have to be approved. And then I go, cool. I want to do the process to be approved. And they're like, sorry, we're not accepting applications at this time. And it's like, oh, okay, awesome. And so, what's the number to Facebook? What is that phone number? There is none. So you've got no recourse, right? So all the thousands of dollars that this company has spent. Building their these companies, they need to have lots of likes. So they spend money to get you to like their page. And all that does is build up an audience that then Facebook holds hostage and says, oh, you know what? Every time you put up a message, only 15% of your audience is going to see that message unless you pay us. And then you go, okay, fine, I'll pay you. And then they go, sorry, we're not accepting applications for that category. So I don't know if they have a category-specific deal in the works where it's going to be exclusive to eHarmony or some enormous company that's going to spend $50 million to be the exclusive with Facebook. I don't know what the deal is. All I know is I can't put up an ad of two people smiling with the phrase, come to these awesome events if you're a single person. So,
is there any chance that they think that it's, what you're proposing is some kind of Ashley Madison kind of organization?
No. In fact, I saw published reports, out in regular media organizations that said that, they just felt that there were too many companies advertising in that space. So right before Valentine's Day, they decided to turn off the spigot, and that at some point they'll open it up again, but maybe not. Who knows? And again, that's the danger of all of these platforms. And the danger of depending on them. is that it's their website, and I kind of don't blame them. Oh, you want to do whatever you want to do, fine. I only blame Facebook because their business model is such where, they depend on you to build their content base.
Yeah, you're right.
They depend on you to put cool and interesting stuff up there. They depend on you to invite all your friends. And in the case of a business, they even encourage you, build your likes. So spend money to build your likes. And then what these businesses don't realize, and most people don't realize, is that only 15% or so of your likers, of your fans, are going to see your message after you do all that, unless you pay.
How much is it?
To
get beyond the 15%.
Well, I mean, you can do boosted. Well, I mean, you can, there's a boosted post campaign where you could spend 10 or 20, and it'll tell you, like, between 2,000 and 6,000 people will see your post if you spend $20. And it kind of does like a bidding thing like that, so you can kind of gauge your pricing or, your budget. And then for like a campaign like I was trying to set up, you bid on clicks or you bid on impressions. So how many times your ad is seen by people or displayed on the page at least. And so I always do bid for clicks, and you can set your bid price to, 20 cents, 50 cents, $1.50, whatever, based on how many times you want to rise to the top, right? This is the first time I've ever actually been told, sorry, your money's no good here. And that's, it's like kind of concerning because these guys are like, hey, we hired you to do this for us. And I'm like, yeah, you hired me to spread the word. Facebook is just one way to do it. So to hell with them. I'll keep on trying to find a sales office. And in the meantime, there's a million other places we can talk about your product. But they're so fixated. Everyone is so fixated. Facebook. Matt Lauer today is talking about the royal family and Facebook. And it's like, sheesh. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. They're telling me to go pound sand, which I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I don't have Mark Zuckerberg's phone number. I've offered them $150,000 every 3 months. They're telling me no. I can up it to $5 million. Do you have $5 million we can give them? Maybe that would help. Yeah. But it's all part of the larger point, which is you don't own the internet. You don't own these channels, so you can't depend on them always being there, and you can't depend on them being open to you. So to think that they can't, squash dissension with the flip of a switch is ridiculous.
And so what do you think the overall machine's response or thoughts are on what happened in Nevada?
Okay, so a year ago, we saw the unprecedented display of force in Watertown, Connecticut, and other surrounding suburbs, where police officers who looked like they were militarized robots, head-to-toe armor, they were conducting warrantless door-to-door searches of homes for these two, the Sarnoff brothers or whatever. Mm-hmm. And people literally were told, shelter in place. Entire towns were locked down. People absolutely did what they were told. Nobody went to work. Everything shut down. There was nobody on the streets. There was militarized, checkpoints throughout the Boston area. And cops were literally raiding homes, taking family. There's videos of families being taken out on their front lawns with their hands behind their heads and lined up and stuff. It was cray-cray. Fast forward to a year later, the government is concocting this BS cover story to protect some turtles, to take some dude's land. They confiscate his hundreds of heads of cattle, costing him millions of dollars ultimately, and totally seize it. He's sheltering in place, hiding from the government. They show up, militarized, just like they did in Connecticut, only something different happened this time. A bunch of dudes in Jeeps came with guns and stared them down. And so from one year to the next, I'm seeing progress. But I also know that where Matt Lauer was breathlessly talking about it for days a year ago, I guess you're telling me he's not this year. And
well, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at all. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe they were reporting it and I just wasn't seeing it when I was out there. but I haven't seen it anywhere. I didn't know anything about it until you told me. So now would you then make the prediction that, because this turtle stuff is, trying to do a land grab over a bunch of turtles because some lawmakers are putting together a deal that will line their own back pockets. That will never go away. That will happen in this town constantly. I mean, never mind Henry Reid, or Harry Reid. Harry Reid. You'll have aldermen in the city that will try to pull this kind of stuff off. So are you saying that you think we'll see more and more of this kind of thing? Are you predicting a year from now will we see 2 or 3 more Brady Ranch episodes?
No, because last year they did it in a town where guns are illegal. So who was going to come riding in with their guns? But they did it out in Nevada where it's not illegal, and a bunch of dudes showed up with their stuff. So, I think it depends on where you do it. All I know is if a cop comes to my door and says, are there 2 Chechen brothers in there? And I'm like, no. And then he says, we're coming in. I'm raising a fuss. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I just told you they're not in here. Come back with your piece of paper, man. And if they throw me out on my front lawn and raid my house anyway, I sure as hell want dudes in Jeeps coming and making a scene. Because that's what happened a year ago, and everyone went along with it, and everyone went, well, it's a major emergency. There's 2 psychopaths running around. Oh, there's a whole city of psychopaths running around with guns in Chicago. We're not doing warrantless door-to-door searches. How many people died in the Boston bombing? Like, God rest their souls, but like 2 or 3 people? Some dude went into a synagogue and shot it up and killed 3 people the other day in Kansas. That happens all the time. But we never have seen a door-to-door warrantless search scenario with militarized police units like we did in Watertown last year. And then it wasn't even those jackboot jerks who found them. It was some dude set out for a smoke and seeing something amiss in his backyard. And he wasn't sheltering in place. He just went out to, do his thing, and he solved it. It wasn't the meddling kids. It was just a guy. Right. So the cops in their Gestapo tactics didn't do any good.
Well, but now here's the thing, though. Do you think you're saying that there was an abuse of power, that they overstepped it? But are you suggesting that there was any other, in the ways that you've kind of pointed out? For example, why are we still in Afghanistan? Because of the poppy fields, or what went down on September 11th. There were other buildings that fell. Maybe something was afoot. This was what you're saying, an over-response to 2 guys when there's all this violence that goes on the south and west side of Chicago and there's no building-to-building warrantless searches. Are you suggesting that there was something else that was at work?
Like people in the community say that was a test? I don't know, man. I don't know. All I know is the whole thing is rotten from start to finish on that whole thing. But
rotten, I guess, I'm just curious, rotten in what way?
Well, that's one of the ways it was rotten. That constitutional basis was absolutely violated, and nobody said anything about it. And that's a problem to me. And the fact that, so I woke up one morning during that whole saga, and the media was reporting that overnight the Tsarnaev brothers were, shooting up the town. They were taking people hostage. They were throwing bombs. These crazy stories were being told. And then there's footage. One of the Tsarnaev brothers was taken into custody, and they show a guy who looks like him getting taken into custody, and he's naked. And it was like this weird whole scene, right? And then a couple of hours later, they're like, we were wrong. Actually, what happened was one of the Tsarnaev brothers over his brother with a car as he was getting away. And there were no bombs. Yeah, but he did have tons of guns. And then it turns out he's found in a boat, unarmed. So it's like, what? What are you talking about, man? I don't even believe anything you're saying at all. It sounds fake to me. I gotta be honest, man. Yeah, so when I look at things like that, dude, I go, what's going on here? You all can't get the story straight. There's a lot of problems with the story, and then to me, one of the biggest stories that you should be talking about is is this crazy militarized lockdown of an entire American city. And the fact that the citizenry went along with it, and nobody said boo. Now, maybe, like, there were groups out there, like, totally protest. I don't know. But I know, all I can tell is that the people charged with telling me that information didn't say anything about it, so I don't know about it.
Right. Well, no, but see, now I'll look at it this way. For example, let's say, and I'll even pick a more congested area a little bit further of where I live, like Old Town. If this same thing, there was a 5K, and then something went off where someone opened fire at the finish line, and then they darted into the streets of Old Town, and I owned a building inside of Old Town, and they kind of did a lockdown, and now they're going to do this search, a house-to-house search to find these people. I don't feel like I would be opposed to that.
Well, right. You're making it sound like, yes, they ran into a building. People knew they were in that 3-block radius, and so they locked it down, and that, sure enough, that's where they were. No, they did. Dude, nobody knew for like 2 days after, we started to see surveillance footage of two mysterious men. But then, boy, go look around. There was like mysterious dudes all over the place at that thing. But that's neither here nor there. It's not like 2 dudes absolutely were identified and they saw them run into a building. Like 2 dudes melted into the crowd and nobody even knew there were 2 dudes, supposedly, for days. And then they started to release, FBI surveillance photo stills, and then they started to develop, what they may look like or whatever, and then there was this lockdown of the whole area. So look on a map. Where's Watertown compared to where the finish line was?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but it's not like the scenario you're painting. So at any rate, now here I am again being painted out to be this tinfoil hat wearing psycho, which is fine. I wear it well, I guess. But
but here's the thing.
Is for people to not lay down when there's no reason to lay down, dude.
Right. Now, here's the thing, though, and I see what you're saying. I'm not calling you out completely in the tinfoil hat. I'm not casting you into the tinfoil hat brigade based on, what you're saying about Boston or Nevada. The Nevada thing makes sense to me because the Nevada thing, it makes the story from the tinfoil hat brigade does make sense to me. When you see that there are politicians that are roped into a deal that's going to line their back pockets, they've muscled out every 55 other ranchers. This is the last man standing. They're going to try to save some turtles and confiscate this guy's stuff. It completely stinks. Now, when I'm carrying over that same understanding into the Boston bombing, I understand in Nevada where what they're trying to say, like, well, this guy didn't use grazing bees and we're trying to save turtles. It's kind of like, wait, what? This seems like a bit much. I'm trying to see that headline beneath the headline with regard to the Boston bombing. In the same way that if people say, well, September 11th really wasn't what you thought it was. It was some kind of ruse put on by the government or what have you.
I only brought them up because they're similar only in the fact that in one instance, a denutted population absolutely laid down and let the cops do whatever they wanted, and no questions seemingly were asked, and nobody said boo afterward. And in another instance, when the same militarized goons showed up, another group of people took up arms and told them pound sand. And that I applaud.
Okay, so is this then the difference between, say, a blue and red state mentality?
I don't know. Is Nevada, what is Nevada? Like,
I don't quite know. One would think.
Yeah, I get it.
If you remove Las Vegas, I've got to think it's a pretty conservative part of the country. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be a geographic thing. It might be a mentality thing. It might be a gun thing. I don't know what it is. All I know is that I wish that everybody had that chutzpah. And again, I'm not like advocating armed rebellion over every little thing, but these politicians will just roll over us if we let them. And yeah, they're an absolute oligarchy at this point. And I mean, boy, there was just a story. I wish I could quote it chapter and verse now to you. There was just a study released that says like America has become an oligarchy, and that American people have almost zero say in policy decisions. And again, that's like a headline, it's like an excerpt, and maybe that was like put out by like some Republican group or something, and they had an agenda. But it doesn't feel that way though. Doesn't it feel like GE and Halliburton and corporations, they're writing the laws for these dudes in a lot of cases. Oh, well, we have to pass the 3,000-page law just to see what's in it. I mean, these politicians say the dumbest things now because they're not writing the laws. The corporations are writing the laws. And good luck calling your representative and getting any satisfaction when you do. And even if you do, that's 1 out of 535 people plus 9 Supreme Court justices, and plus, I mean, unelected czars everywhere, which is a new facet of the American political machine, which is kind of within the last, 8 years, where there's like 60 czars running around Washington. So I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel like there's any power in the people, but we did see a little instance of it there. And I have to say, how did it happen? Was it a man? Was it like the little Chinese man with the 2, paper bags standing in front of the tank at Tiananmen Square? No, it was a bunch of dudes in jeeps with guns, and that's what made the difference potentially. So I think it's a good thing to not lose your guns and not let anyone take them. Because that might be what it takes to keep your freedom.
Now, I have to say, not being a gun owner, I understand your point. I completely see it. I don't see myself running out and buying a gun anytime soon. But I do have to say, that story did stand out to me. It was the first time where I didn't even, something that I really wouldn't have even thought was possible, that I wouldn't have thought was possible. All of a sudden I saw it, and I saw it happening because a bunch of people had guns over their shoulder. It was kind of like, whoa, that's pretty interesting.
Oh, you know what? I mean, boy, so what was the news of the week? Ukraine and Malaysia black box. But meanwhile, there's an armed standoff between armed protesters, American protesters, and armed government agents. Mm-hmm. And that's not like the biggest story of the last 5 years. How is that?
No, I agree with you. That the way that I see the story playing out, but when I went back and reviewed it, because I didn't really see it as it was happening, I would agree with you. Just off the top of my head, that has to be one of the biggest stories of the last 5 years. Because when I saw the details of it, I was like, wow, what? I can't even believe this is possible.
Yeah, well, see, here's what the government did wrong, and not like, I don't want to get too cuckoo, but they shouldn't have made it Desert Tortoise. What they should have done is they should have said, this Bundy guy is a cult leader, and he molests collies in there. And he has to be stopped. They should have David Koreshed him.
Right.
But they made a miscalculation, and they went, this is a Harry Reid state. He can do whatever he wants. We'll just say it's a Desert Tortoise. Take this bastard's land, and he'll be off in a retirement village or in jail somewhere, and no one will miss him. So maybe that'll be the next step. Maybe they'll be like, oh, Bundy has Mormon ties, and he has 6 wives or something,
Right.
Who knows, man? They haven't really smeared him yet.
That would almost sound very biblical in that. He had 6 wives, so he took his kettle.
So I don't know, man. Hey, man, you don't have to have a gun. Just support the people that do. I've always supported people's gun rights. I just don't go out and do anything about it. But I don't go about arming myself. But no, I've always supported people's own gun rights to gun ownership. Yeah, well, whatever. At the end of the day, Jones, I still love America. I just want it to be all it can be. And I know that with men like you in America, we still have a glimmer of hope.
Well, I am honored that you feel that way, Mike.
And I kind of do. I have to go. I have children staring at me through the windows, their little noses pressed up and blowing, like steam or, mist into the glass like little orphans.
It's adorable. All right, man. Well, I will pick up with you in a few days then.
See you next week, buddy.
All right. See you, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.